So, today we are going to be discussing language and how we learn it, how it's structured, and also how we think with the said language. So, today you are going to learn all about language and basically how you learned how to speak what you speak today. So, let's begin. Let's begin with the structure of language. Now, language is defined as the combination of gestured, spoken, and or written words to communicate meaning. We use language every day. It's how we communicate with each other. Now, a language's structure has three basic building blocks. One is a phoneme, next is a morpheme, and lastly, grammar. A phoneme is the smallest sound unit. Now, an example of said sound unit, we'll use the word chat. Now, in the word chat, there are three phonemes: ch, a, and t. It's basically the sound of each letter, basically. There are also 869 different phonemes in human speech. There is not one human language that uses all 869. That would just be crazy. Now, here is a chart that clearly illustrates a phoneme mouth chart. It's how we formulate these words using our mouths. This is taught by John Riley. Yeah, it's how we formulate each sound with our mouths. And you can see like ah, and it's almond mouth shape, e, and then you stretch out the mouth, and then an o, your mouth is in an O. So this is just a visual so you can clearly see what a phoneme looks like using your mouth. Now, a morpheme is something that's a little different. It's the smallest meaningful unit. So it's not like a phoneme where it is the sound that the letter makes. This is basically like prefixes and suffixes. Wow. Anyway, so like let's say like in the word cheerful, cheer would be one morpheme and full would be another. It's basically little words in one word that makes sense instead of the single letter. Phonemes combine to make morphemes, and morphemes combine to make words. Now, in order to make sense of these words, you are going to need grammar. Now, grammar is defined as a system of rules that enables us to communicate with and understand others. So we need grammar in order to understand each other. If we didn't have grammar, none of these morphemes, phonemes, anything would make sense. So we also have semantics, the set of rules by which we derive meaning from morphemes, words, and sentences in a given language. So grammar and semantics work together in order to make sense of the words that we use and the sentences that we use so we can fully understand. Now we also have syntax, and that is rules for combining words into grammatically sensible sentences in a given language. Syntax is basically, in a simpler way of putting it, how a sentence is structured. So syntax and semantics work together to help make grammar, help make this language make sense, because there's a lot of it that just doesn't. So now we are into development. Now we have two different abilities in which we language the language. There is receptive and productive. Receptive language is the ability to read lips and discriminate speech sounds but not words. Productive language is the ability to produce words after the receptive language matures. So receptive language is basically how the time period in which we listen and hear and see the words, but productive language is how we are able to take all that information and make our own words. And this is where the babbling stage comes in. So this is where an infant around like 4 months old just starts spitting out sounds at you. Doesn't make sense, but to them it does. And in a second, I'm about to show you a short clip of the babbling stage. So there are different developmental stages in which infants and toddlers learn their household language. Around the age of 4 months, like I said earlier, that is the babbling stage. Around 10 months of age, the babbling starts resembling the household language. At around 1 to 2 years old, that is the one word stage, and they mostly speak in single words such as mama, dada. Now, at around 2 years old, the two word stage develops into mostly two word statements like me, cookie, want cookie, cookie now, basically, stuff like that. I hope no baby sounds like that. And there's also something called the telegraphic speech, where it's basically nouns and verbs. Whereas, let's say you would want to say, do you want juice, or I want juice. You take out the do you, or you take out the want and say want juice to express your desires. And after about 24 months on, the language develops rapidly into complete sentences, and you have a monster on your hands that just won't shut up. So B.F. Skinner is basically an operant learning freak. His theory is basically that we learn our languages through associations and imitations, and also reinforcement. Associations with the words, with the sights of things and the sounds of the words, imitations of the words and syntax modeled by others, and reinforcement with hugs and smiles when the child says something right. So associations, when you're teaching a child, you mouth the words using the phonemes and the mouth charts that was shown earlier. Imitations of the words, like if you're trying to teach the child apple, you show them the apple. And then reinforcement, when they finally say the word apple, you hug them, you smile, and then they'll be saying apple all day long. Linguist Noam Chomsky's theory is a little bit different and focuses on how we learn grammar. And basically what he says is we learn grammar by hearing it constantly through other people. It's not through reinforcement and here you get a cookie, good job. We learn by hearing it. It's through hearing the language, our language acquisition device gets switched on, and some more than others, we learn the language quickly just by hearing it. Now we are getting into thinking and language. And what we have is linguistic determinism. And that is Benjamin Lee Whorf's hypothesis that language determines the way we think. Now this is most evident in polylinguals who speak two or more languages. Someone who speaks Spanish constantly in their household or wherever, they may speak Spanish, but they may think in English. It's very different. But also thinking can occur without language, and this is most evident in artists where they may think in pictures. And this is where thinking in images comes in, where it's watching an activity that can activate a brain's internal stimulation of it. So most artists think in images. So that is the end of this video. Thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something new about language today. Thank you.